Right now, as you listen to this, thousands of people just like you are scrolling through their phones, complaining about their jobs, dreaming about a better life, but doing absolutely nothing to change it. They are stuck in what I call the comfort zone trap, and they do not even realize it. If you recognize yourself in this description, then this video might be the wake-up call that changes everything for you. Let me ask you something, and I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. When was the last time you did something that genuinely scared you? When was the last time you took a real risk, stepped outside your comfort zone, or pursued something that made your heart race with excitement and terror at the same time? If you cannot remember, then you might be wasting the most precious resource you have, your life. I know this sounds harsh, but hear me out. I am not here to make you feel bad about where you are right now. I am here to show you something that most people never discover until it is too late. There is a psychological principle that separates people who live extraordinary lives from those who settle for mediocrity. And once you understand it, you cannot unsee it. The average person spends approximately 73 years on this planet. That sounds like a long time until you break it down. Subtract the years you spend sleeping, and you are down to about 48 years of conscious living. Take away childhood when you have little control over your life, and you are left with maybe 35 years of true adult autonomy. Now, subtract the time you spend on basic necessities like eating, commuting, and daily maintenance, and you might have 20 years of truly discretionary time to build the life you want. 20 years. That is it. And yet, most people spend those 20 years waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for more money, waiting for less fear, waiting for permission, waiting for someone else to make the first move. They wait until waiting becomes their life, and then they wonder why they feel empty and unfulfilled. But what if I told you that the very thing you are waiting for, that perfect moment, that ideal circumstance, that feeling of complete readiness, will never come? What if I told you that the people living extraordinary lives figured out a secret that you can learn right now, today, in the next few minutes? The secret is this. Successful people do not wait for the fear to go away. They do not wait until they feel ready. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They have simply learned to dance with discomfort, to make friends with uncertainty, and to take action in spite of their fears, not in the absence of them. Let me tell you about a psychological concept called the comfort zone. Imagine 3 concentric circles. The innermost circle is your comfort zone, where everything feels safe, familiar, and predictable. This is where you know exactly what to expect, where your current skills are sufficient, and where there are no surprises. It feels good to be here, which is why most people never leave. The middle circle is what psychologists call the learning zone, or growth zone. This is where magic happens. In this zone, you feel challenged, but not overwhelmed. You are stretching your abilities, learning new skills, and expanding your capabilities. It feels uncomfortable, but it is a productive discomfort, like the burn you feel in your muscles when you are building strength. The outermost circle is the panic zone, where the challenge is so overwhelming that you shut down, freeze up, or retreat back to your comfort zone as quickly as possible. Here is what most people do not understand. Your comfort zone is not actually comfortable. It might feel safe in the short term, but over time, staying in your comfort zone becomes a prison. It leads to stagnation, regret, and that nagging feeling that you are capable of so much more than you are currently experiencing. Think about it. Every skill you have ever developed required you to leave your comfort zone. When you learned to walk, you had to risk falling. When you learned to ride a bicycle, you had to risk scraping your knees. When you learned to drive, you had to risk making mistakes. The most meaningful moments of your life, your proudest achievements, your deepest relationships, all came from moments when you stepped outside your comfort zone. Yet somewhere along the way, many of us forget this fundamental truth. We start prioritizing safety over growth, certainty over possibility, comfort over fulfillment. We trade our dreams for security, and then we wonder why we feel so stuck. The neuroscience behind this is fascinating. Your brain has two primary systems that govern your behavior. The first is what neuroscientists call the approach system, which drives you toward rewards, opportunities, and positive experiences. The second is the avoidance system, which keeps you away from threats, dangers, and negative experiences. Both systems are essential for survival, but in our modern world, the avoidance system often becomes overactive. Your brain treats uncertainty, change, and new experiences as potential threats, even when they are actually opportunities for growth and fulfillment. This is why taking action outside your comfort zone feels so difficult, even when you know it is good for you. But here is the incredible thing about your brain. It is remarkably adaptable. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain ability to reorganize itself throughout your life. Every time you step outside your comfort zone and survive the experience, your brain literally rewires itself. What once felt terrifying becomes familiar. What once seemed impossible becomes possible. This is why successful people seem to have some kind of magical confidence that you lack. It is not that they were born with special abilities or that they do not feel fear. They have simply trained their brains to associate discomfort with growth rather than danger. They have learned to interpret the butterflies in their stomach as excitement rather than anxiety. Let me share with you the story of a woman named Sarah. 3 years ago, Sarah was working a job she hated, in a relationship that was slowly killing her spirit, living in a city that felt like a cage. Every morning, she would look in the mirror and see a stranger staring back at her. She knew she needed to make changes, but the thought of leaving her comfort zone felt overwhelming. Sarah's comfort zone included her predictable but unfulfilling job, her toxic but familiar relationship, and her safe but limiting daily routine. The idea of quitting her job, ending her relationship, and moving to a new city all seemed impossible. So she did what most people do. She complained, she made excuses, and she waited for something to change. But nothing changed, because nothing changes until you change it. One day, Sarah came across a concept that shifted everything for her. She learned about something called the 20-second rule. The 20-second rule states that you can build new habits by making them just 20 seconds easier to start. And you can break bad habits by making them just 20 seconds harder to continue. Sarah realized she had been thinking about change in the wrong way. Instead of trying to transform her entire life overnight, she could start with tiny actions that moved her in the direction of her dreams. Instead of quitting her job immediately, she could spend 20 minutes each evening updating her resume. Instead of ending her relationship dramatically, she could start having honest conversations about what was not working. The 20-second rule helped Sarah understand a crucial truth about change. Big transformations are not built on grand gestures or moments of inspiration. They are built on small, consistent actions that compound over time. Every time you choose growth over comfort, courage over fear, action over inaction, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. Sarah started small. She signed up for a public speaking class even though the thought terrified her. She started a side project in her spare time, exploring a passion she had ignored for years. She began having difficult but necessary conversations with her partner about their relationship. Each small action built her confidence and expanded her comfort zone. Within 6 months, she had developed new skills, gained clarity about what she wanted, and built the courage to make bigger changes. Within a year, she had found a new job that excited her, ended the relationship that was holding her back, and moved to a city where she felt alive again. Today, Sarah runs her own successful consulting business, is in a loving relationship with someone who supports her dreams, and wakes up every morning feeling grateful to be alive. But the transformation did not happen because she suddenly became fearless. It happened because she learned to take action in spite of her fear. This is the secret that separates people who live extraordinary lives from those who settle for mediocrity. It is not about eliminating fear or waiting for perfect conditions. It is about developing what psychologists call distress tolerance, the ability to experience discomfort without immediately trying to escape from it. Most people have a very low tolerance for discomfort. The moment they feel anxious, uncertain, or challenged, they retreat back to what feels safe and familiar. But successful people have trained themselves to sit with discomfort, to breathe through uncertainty, and to take action even when every fiber of their being is telling them to run away. Think about the most successful people you know or have read about. What do they all have in common? They all had to do things that scared them. They all had to risk failure, rejection, and criticism. They all had to leave their comfort zones repeatedly, often when they did not feel ready. Steve Jobs was terrified when he started Apple in his garage. Oprah Winfrey was scared when she decided to launch her own television network. Stephen King was rejected 30 times before his first novel was published. Every entrepreneur who has ever built a successful business felt fear when they invested their life savings into an unproven idea. The difference is not that these people do not feel fear. The difference is that they have learned to use fear as fuel rather than letting fear use them as an excuse. But let me be clear about something important. I am not suggesting that you should make reckless decisions or take stupid risks. There is a difference between calculated risks that move you toward your goals and random acts of recklessness that serve no purpose. The key is learning to distinguish between real dangers and imaginary fears. Most of the things you are afraid to do are not actually dangerous. You are afraid of being judged, but judgment from others cannot actually hurt you. You are afraid of failing, but failure is just feedback that helps you improve. You are afraid of rejection, but rejection simply means you are not a good fit for that particular opportunity. Not that you are fundamentally flawed as a person. Your brain, however, does not distinguish between real physical danger and social or emotional discomfort. To your ancient survival mechanisms, the fear of public speaking registers the same as the fear of being chased by a tiger. This is why stepping outside your comfort zone feels so terrifying, even when you know logically that nothing bad will actually happen. Understanding this can be incredibly liberating. When you feel that familiar surge of anxiety before doing something outside your comfort zone, you can remind yourself that this is just your brain trying to protect you from a danger that does not actually exist. You can acknowledge the fear, thank your brain for trying to keep you safe, and then do it anyway. Here is another crucial insight that most people never learn. Your comfort zone is not static. It either expands or contracts based on your actions. Every time you do something outside your comfort zone, it gets a little bigger. Every time you retreat from a challenge, it gets a little smaller. This means that courage is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. The less you use it, the weaker it becomes. People who seem naturally brave are not born with some special courage gene. They have simply been practicing courage for longer than you have. The good news is that you can start building your courage muscle today, right now, with small actions that gradually expand your comfort zone. You do not need to quit your job, move to another country, or make any dramatic life changes. You can start by doing small things that feel slightly uncomfortable. Call that person you have been meaning to call but keep putting off. Sign up for that class you have been thinking about for months. Apply for that job you think you might not be qualified for. Have that difficult conversation you have been avoiding. Each time you do something that scares you a little bit, you are literally rewiring your brain and expanding your capacity for courage. But here is where most people go wrong. They try to change everything at once, get overwhelmed, and then retreat back to their old patterns. Sustainable change happens gradually, through small, consistent actions that build momentum over time. I want to introduce you to another powerful concept called the aggregation of marginal gains. This principle suggests that if you can improve by just 1% in multiple areas of your life, the cumulative effect will be extraordinary. 1% improvements seem insignificant in the moment, but they compound over time to create remarkable transformations. If you improved by just 1% every day for a year, you would be 37 times better at the end of the year. This is the power of compound growth, and it applies to personal development just as much as it applies to financial investments. The problem is that most people underestimate the power of small improvements and overestimate the importance of dramatic changes. They wait for the perfect moment to make a complete life overhaul, but the perfect moment never comes because perfection is the enemy of progress. Instead of waiting for motivation to strike, successful people create momentum through action. They understand that motivation is not a prerequisite for action, but rather a result of action. You do not need to feel motivated to start. You start, and then motivation follows. This is counterintuitive because we have been taught to believe that we need to feel ready before we take action. But readiness is not a feeling you wait for. Readiness is a decision you make and then prove to yourself through your actions. Think about it this way. You will never feel completely ready to have children. But people become great parents by choosing to have children and then figuring it out along the way. You will never feel completely ready to start a business. But successful entrepreneurs become successful by starting businesses and learning from their mistakes. You will never feel completely ready to pursue your dreams. But extraordinary people become extraordinary by pursuing their dreams before they feel ready. This does not mean you should be reckless or unprepared. It means that you should prepare as much as reasonably possible, and then take action, even if you do not feel 100% ready. Perfectionist paralysis kills more dreams than failure ever will. Let me share with you a simple framework that can help you start taking action today. It is called the minimum viable step. Instead of trying to figure out the perfect plan for achieving your dreams, ask yourself this question. What is the smallest possible step I could take today that would move me in the direction of my goals? Maybe you want to start a business, but the idea feels overwhelming. Your minimum viable step might be spending 30 minutes researching your market or writing down 10 potential business ideas. Maybe you want to improve your health, but you have tried and failed so many times before. Your minimum viable step might be taking a 10